Yo, what is up, YouTube? How you guys doing, gamers, gamettes? You guys having a wonderful morning. I'm gonna hit you guys with a quick ranked tier list. These are the gods you should be playing in support in ranked. These are just the best gods to carry with, to win with in support. Obviously, like I have on my tip page, pressure reigns key in support. So you're gonna be seeing a lot of warriors at the top. You're gonna see a lot of pressure guardians at the top. A lot of lower pressure guardians are gonna be towards the bottom. And this is just my opinion, obviously, but these are the characters that I think are the best gods to carry with in support in ranked. I think every hunter, every mage, you're just looking to lose the queue with as one of them. I think for the most part, assassins are pretty bad too. Actually, I don't even think I'll put assassins on here. Maybe Naja and that's it. Maybe I just rank Naja at the end, but for the most part, even assassins are pretty bad. I think we'll just do it without assassins. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. It's gonna be mostly guardians and mostly guardians and warriors. Yeah, just jump right in. Actually, let's go over the tiers quick. S tier means it's just your best chance to carry. A tier means you have a pretty good chance to carry. B tier means you're kind of relying on the team. You can kind of carry yourself also. C is you can carry a little bit, but your team's gonna have to pull a lot of their weight. E is basically almost uncarryable, or you cannot carry that god, and then D is maybe a slight chance of carrying. So we'll start with Achilles. I actually think Achilles is a strong ranked support. Just because of the executes, it makes it so you can kind of snowball and like you become tanky and you just become this unkillable warrior from the support role, and you basically just can kill anyone that comes in front of you. You can execute a tank if he's getting low. You can just solo a backliner. So I actually think Achilles is in a really good spot. His laning phase is not hard either. He actually has a good amount of kill potential. He's safe. He has the CC. His clear's a little meh, but you don't really need to clear from support. I'm going to put him in A tier. His shirtless stance is just pretty strong. He can just chase people down. The power is nice. Amma, B tier, she's got a solid laning phase, 2v2's fine. She can't really carry, she gets ahead, she's strong. She really doesn't have any setup or anything, it's mostly just she's looking to solo dive and kill someone. Yeah, she's fine. I don't know too much, like, about her carrying, but obviously Alma's a late game monster, she can do objectives, so that makes her pretty sick. Her laning phase in the 2v2 is a little weak. Ares, I think Ares is pretty weak. If he gets ahead, he's gonna tear through your team. His 2v2 is pretty good, easily gankable. He's probably one of the easiest gods to gank in the game. If you fight on the Ares, though, you have a good chance of winning, and if he gets ahead, he'll do boatloads of damage, and he'll be pretty hard to kill. Ardeo. I actually think Ardio's in a pretty good spot right now. Probably A or B tier. The thing that's making her probably not A tier and not in that upper range of carry supports is just no CC immunity. She's got a lot of pressure, but having an immunity makes you just not able to die via the mage. If you get locked down by like the guardian and then the mage just tosses abilities on you, it's gonna suck. Any form of CC immunity is gonna be sick. That's why like Kuz is gonna be towards the top, Sobek is too. A couple spoilers right there just because of that immunity and then just how tanky they are and how much damage they do. Athena, I think Athena's probably got to be one of the worst supports for ranked. Too reliant on your team. You're basically just setting up for your mage and just trying to get them to kill. You're really not doing anything yourself. Everything is basically off your team's back, and you're just gonna be there. I actually might put her in E even as the worst tier. I'll throw her in E for now, but maybe she goes up a little bit. Bacchus, probably another B tier character. He doesn't really carry too much. He's pretty average. He does a lot of damage. His 2v2's meh. He's tanky. No CC immunity is bad. He is kind of safe, not really safe. He's got kind of a slow jump. You know, like on her jump, it's kind of slow. It's kind of like Bacchus jump. His damage, although high, is not too bursty. He's got like flop ult, which is not even that much damage. It's probably like 700 or something towards like the mid to late game. And then his burp you can just jump away from. So I think Bacchus is whatever. Bellona, I don't think she's actually like a very good support. I just kind of play her just because she's fun, and she can kind of snowball the laning phase with an early kill with Horrific. So I think she's more of a troll one, but I genuinely think she's better than Athena. Athena just relies way too much on the team. Kumbhakarna, I actually think Kumbhakarna's really good. You can get ahead with Kumbhakarna in the laning phase. If your ADC is a good player and plays aggressive and will fight with you, Kumbhakarna's got very, very easy and strong kill potential. The double stun is sick. The walls are sick. So I think Kumbhakarna's in a good spot. It brings you a lot of pressure. 2v2 strong. Late game is pretty good also. The wall sick. Serb, I think Serb's pretty mediocre god. I'll put him in B tier because his laning phase is good. People underestimate how OP his passive is in the 2v2. I think he gets 60% of what other people are healing. Or maybe it's just 50, but either way. So if the other team has both pots ticking, he's getting basically another tick of pots. So he's basically got double pot running most of the laning phase if he's close enough to you. His damage is also insane. He provides anti-heal, which affects your pot usage, which also makes yours worse and his better. He's safe with his jump. His ult is pretty sick. He shreds prots to set up for your mage. He can solo backliners if he gets ahead. Serba's in a pretty good spot right now. His late game is probably one of the weakest for supports. He does not feel all that tanky. His damage falls off a lot in the late game. He's basically just an ult bot, so he does fall off a lot, but I do think his early game will allow him to carry most of the games. Chalk, kind of troll. He's down there with Athena. I don't even want to talk about him that much. He's just not that good. Same with Cthulhu. Actually, I think Cthulhu's got a little bit more viability than those two, and than Bologna. His laning phase is just pretty weak. You can't stack your passives, so you'll never have past that 20% mitigation unless the other dueling is trolling. You're basically just playing for team fights and then just looking to dive. You're not peeling with Cthulhu. You're just looking to go into the mage and the hunter and kill them. So he's fine. I don't think he's that strong. You can play him if you want. Cuchulain's better than these three. He's still another one that you just have to get your passive stack, that it's hard to do that in support. You either have to commit your jump, which makes you an easy kill, or you have to just like sit there and just auto the wave. His pressure is very, very bad before he transforms and gets his passive up, and then it's very good when he gets his passive. So he's like a really 50-50 character. If you get a nice transform off, you can dominate that 2v2 and probably get an early kill. If you get a bad transform and you waste it, you're just in regular Cuchulain form and you're not doing too much. So he also has got negative peel. He's got one knock-up that's easy to CC immune, and then so he's basically just solo diving. That's all he's got. He's got no potential for peel. Like most of these gods have some potential to peel. He has negative peel. Erlang's actually pretty good right now in support. Not broken or anything. He's pretty good. He's got some of the easiest kill potential at level 1, 2, if you're not playing against like a Hercules or something that's just really, really strong early game. He just like walks up roots, gets your beads for free. If he ever gets your beads, he can just blink knock you up, and then wait for your jump or your dash or whatever, and then just root you again. So he's got a lot of lockdown. His damage is sick also. He's really reliant on auto attacks, and his auto attacks do a lot of damage. So Erlang is strong, and the biggest problem with Erlang is in that mid game, he doesn't transition into the mid game as well as most supports do. It feels weird. Like if you play him, you know what I mean? He doesn't feel that tanky, even though you have like a finished Thebes or whatever. Like you still feel like you're just not tanky, and I'm pretty sure it's just based that he doesn't have CC immunity. But he does snowball very, very easily in the 2v2, and if he does get a lead and people don't focus him out, he can basically just 1v1 the backliners at all times during the game. Fafnir. Okay, Fafnir is probably the best non-early game guardian to play in ranked, just because his mid game and like early mid game is so good. His 2v2 in the early game is pretty weak actually. Like he'll lose to Erlang, he'll lose to Kumbhakarna, he'll lose to Achilles, he'll probably lose to almost all these characters in AB tier. But as soon as he finishes boots, you cannot fight a 2v2 against him, because he's not getting bursted because of his passive, and he's going to be doing a ton of damage because of the boots he goes. Usually you want either the lifesteal boots or the cooldown boots. So he's going to feel very tanky, and he's going to be doing a lot of damage. And his base damage and just his base kit with his ult, obviously, is just so strong. And then he transitions into this late game monster that's just insane. Like, you can do objectives whenever you want. You can go for phoenixes whenever you want. You can burst a tank whenever you want. You can dive whenever you want. You can't get all in because of the time you buy. Fafnir is probably the best late game guardian in ranked, and his early game is not as bad as most late game guardians. Ganesha, pretty average god. He's just trying to look to peel for the team, set the team up. You're not going to be doing too much carrying. You can if you get a bunch of sick ults, but you're very reliant on your ult for carrying. You're basically just peeling, setting up for your team. His early game is fine. He's a safe god. Never really a bad Ganesh game unless they have just a pick the support comp, then he's a little weak. And some of the pick the support comps are he's actually good into, like a Ymir comp. You're looking to pick the support, but he just dashes through the wall. Kumbhakarna the same way, he just dashes through the wall. His 3 is actually a really strong ability and really safe ability. Except when people are body blocking. His 3 is like a really weak, or like really weird ability, and that it's really strong sometimes and very weak the other times. Geb, I think by now you guys know that I think Geb is a pretty bad god. Not that his kit is bad, it's just ranked is too reliant on the early game, and comp is too reliant on the early game, that Geb is hardly ever a great ranked god. And this is actually like, this tier list is going to be like higher ranked, like diamond, masters level. I'm pretty sure Geb is better in the lower levels because games don't really get snowballed. So if this is a gold level tier list, Geb will probably be somewhere in A tier, just because games aren't getting snowballed. You're getting to the late game, and then you have a Geb for late game. And Geb is sick late game. But in these higher tiers, Geb is just not good enough. You get dominated in the early game. You're losing purple buffs. You're going to be losing red buffs. Maybe you can get to the late game, but even if you get to the late game, it's not a guaranteed win with Geb. I think in ranked, I'd rather have a Fafnir in the late game than a Geb, for the most part. Guan? Honestly, with Guan's buff to his Cthulhu Assault, he actually feels very, very good in support. I know Nika played him in solo the weekend of the 21st, or 20th, I guess. His early game is he does so much damage. Shredding prots, he makes it so you can kill the tank. If you can't interrupt his Cthulhu Assault, he is probably going to abuse you. He's going to be out-clearing most gods other than, like, Izanami, Rama. Even, like, Ymir's going to have, like, a weird time into him because it's like pretty 50-50 matchup. Most Ymir matchups he can win or lose pretty easily. But Guan just feels really good. The only god he really, really struggles into is Kuzenbo. And it's just because you're going to start Cthulhu assaulting the wave. Kuzenbo's going to push you through. You're going to have minion aggro on you. And you're not going to be able to channel your Cthulhu assault. So Kuzenbo is a scary matchup to play into. Most other matchups are just going to interrupt your ability. Kuzenbo will punish you for using that ability. So as long as they don't have a Kuzenbo, feel free to pick the god. His horse is broken. His late game, he's a peel monster. He can set up pretty well. The slow is actually nice. It's a very, very strong slow. People kind of underestimate how much the slow is. It's basically like a root. If you miss an ability off of Guan, you slow your trolling. Wait. Why do I have Hades in here? I'm just going to skip Hades. Herc. I'm not going to spend too much time on Herc. He's broken. If you know most supports, watch any other support play, you watch any player talk about support, Hercules is broken. Horus, kind of the same thing. A little less pressure than Hercules, but he's still sick. Gives you the global. You're a little bit more reliant on team, and actually because of that, I think I'm going to lower him. Still sick, though. I'm not going to spend too much time talking to him just because he's that strong. I'm not going to talk about Joram. He's not a support. Khepri. Khepri is probably the best defensive guardian to play in support. His early game is sick. As soon as he hits 2, he has kill potential. As soon as he hits 3, he's got even more kill potential. He clears the wave well. He peels for his teammate well. He builds shell better than most gods just because he has the passive also, so he's basically got double shields. It's almost impossible unless you have a displacement ability to kill a Khepri. So unless you're playing against like a Sobek, a Kuzenbo, a Sylvanas, a Tyr, Hercules, like those gods are good into Khepri, but most other gods are going to have a hard time killing him. So Khepri's a good defensive guardian to play in ranked. I'm not going to talk about Arthur. Kumba's fine. His 2 is a sick ability for level 1. He's probably got the best level 1 for guardians, other than like Herc, maybe Horus. It's a very low cooldown. It pulls actives. Do not level your 1 at level 1. I know I've said it before in Kumba videos, but do not level your 1. Level your 2. That ability is insane. Your 1 is a pretty bad ability for supports. Level your 2, and then you can level your 1, and then you level your 3. But make sure you're at level 1, there's a point in your 2. Kuzenbo, probably the best ranked support in the game. I honestly think he's even better than Herc. He obviously does less auto damage, and maybe Herc's push at some points in the game does more than Kuzenbo can do because if he doesn't have a minion wave. The tankiness that god has, the damage he uses, the zoning he can do. If this god is available and you want MMR, pick Kuzenbo. If you can get comfortable with Kuzenbo and if he doesn't get nerfed soon, you can just climb up the ladder so fast. Honestly, Kuzenbo and Herc, if you just play those 2 gods only, you will gain MMR if your team is not just like 100% way worse than the other team. Mulan is actually very close to this tier also. I think I'm just going to have those 2 at the top tier just because they're that much stronger than everyone else. But Mulan's also a really good god. She basically does what Herc does. A little bit less damage, a little bit more CC. It's not much less damage, but she's just easier to kill. Herc abuses regrowth. She really doesn't. She has less safety in her kit because Herc 3, Herc 1 makes him hard to kill. But Mulan's basically just a worse Herc. Nike. Okay. All right. Hear me out. I'm a big fan of Nike. Her clear is insane. She's impossible to gank. Her setup's actually pretty good if your team is good. Her ult, that slow is bonkers. She can peel with her 2. She can dive with her entire kit. Like, just play a couple Nike games in support, and you'll understand what I'm saying when I say that Nike feels very good in support. Like, at a ranked level, because most players won't pick up Sunder. If they're picking up Sunder in the late game, Nike's going to feel worse, but nobody picks up Sunder pre-12. Her base numbers are so high, you can just get such a big lead before level 12, and you don't have to worry about the Sunder. Odin, pretty bad tier. He just got nerfed so much. I think his kit just doesn't feel good anyway. I don't know. I wouldn't pick him. I don't think there's any reason to pick him. I'm going to move Osiris down to below tier. I'm not going to talk much about him. He's no sustain, no hard CC. Landing phase is whatever. He just takes too much damage in like a 2v2. Too many people are damaging him. Sobek. All right, here's the thing. Is Sobek an ST character with Kuzenbo and Herc? I feel like I can't say yes. Him and Mulan are definitely the best of this tier, and if there's like an A+ tier or something, I'd probably put them there. But I just think these two characters bring too much. Sobek doesn't do enough damage like Kuzenbo. He's not as hard to kill as Kuzenbo. Kuzenbo builds easier. I feel like Sobek, you kind of need cooldown. You don't really need that with Kuzenbo. Sobek's fine, and there's never really a bad Sobek game. So if you like Sobek, play Sobek. If you're comfortable with Sobek, like I said, play Sobek. Never really a bad Sobek game. Sun Wukong, he clears fine. He's safe. He basically is just diving. He does have a little bit of peel. The anti-attack speed on his 2 is actually pretty sick in the laning phase. If you hit the other ADC, you shouldn't lose a trade. I actually don't think he's bad at all. Maybe he's an A tier god just because he's a warrior, and their auto attack damage is actually pretty good. But I'm just gonna put him in B tier. I think I would take most of these gods over him. Sylvanas. Even though Sylvanas does bring a ton of pressure, he's just too easy to kill in ranked. You're going to be getting ganked early and often, and I don't think he has enough 2v3 potential to say that he's good. He's kind of like Ymir, and he's easy to kill, but I think Ymir has easy turn potential, and you can actually fight a 2v3 with Ymir. You can't really do that with Sylvanas, at least. Like, maybe a perfect thing lines up, and you can have a 2v3 with Sylvanas, but for the most part, he's just too easy to gank, too easy to put behind. He's still not bad, but yeah. Terra, I think Terra's good. Pretty A tier. She has a horrible level 1. Her level 2 is meh, and then her level 3 is broken. As soon as you get to level 3 with Terra, you're going to feel good. Terra's never really a bad god. Her ult's broken. Her kit's broken. She has a ton of CC, a ton of damage. She's got tanky. Like, Terra's a good god. She's a very, very good god. Tier, I don't know. I feel like I don't play him well enough to put him into A tier, but I feel like if you do play him well, you can put him in A tier. I'm just going to put him in B tier because this is where I think he is for most people. His displacement's good. He has sustain in the laning phase. He's hard to kill if he gets ahead. I don't know. I don't want to say too much about him because I don't know him that well, but I think he's about a B tier god. Vamana, terrible. Xing Chen. I think Xing's another really good god. Another really good god to learn and support. Almost on the Mulan, Sobek level. I just think he's a little bit worse than them. He just feels not as impactful as them. His ult is way too... Like a Blink Kuz push is hard to beads. Blink Herc push is hard to beads. A Blink Xing root is easy to bleeds. A Blink Xing ult is easy to beads. He's hard to kill, which is... Yes, he's very hard to kill. And then his 2v2 is not as strong as Sobek and Kuz and Herc and Mulan. So he's fine. He's just right underneath that top echelon. And actually, I forgot about this god when I was saying the top tier. Obviously, Yemoja. Still broken. 3 absolutely broken abilities, 1 strong ability. Play Yemoja. She still hasn't been nerfed. I don't know if they're ever planning on nerfing her. Get your Yemoja Gabes in. She's still broken. Even though she's boring. Everyone thinks she's boring. I know she's boring. We know she's boring. She's boring. But she's good. And then Ymir, I'm going to put into A tier. Like, just the pressure and the kill potential this god has at every point in the game. There's no way you can't have him this high. You just got to be careful with your positioning. Make sure you're not too far out of position. Or make sure a teammate can collapse on you. To help fight the fight, and you'll feel the Ymir prowess. Use your walls in the jungle. Abuse your walls. They're broken. The biggest thing that I see with the Ymir players is they don't abuse the wall. They'll just kind of throw it up in a bad spot, and they'll keep it up. You can take your wall down now. It's an ability that can go up and down, and it'll put the ability on cooldown as soon as you drop it. So just make sure you're using Ymir's wall as often as you can. Bait abilities out with it. Bait out ults. Bait out movements, abilities. Abuse the one on Ymir. And this is what the tier list is looking like. This is a ranked tier list for like diamond and above, higher tier. So like you see, a lot of these gods are like pressure gods. These 3 gods you can play in, and they will dominate in any rank. They're fairly easy to play. At least these 2 are. Yemoja might be a little bit more difficult, but abuse those top 3 gods if you want your MMR. You'll be flying up the ranks. I promise. Those 3 gods will just win you ranked games. And that's it. This is the tier list in my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave me a like, subscribe if you like it. If you have any other videos you'd like to see, put it in the comments. And yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and peace out.